Here we're going to show you how to calculate the various test statistics. First of all, we have data for the variable x for values x1 through to x10, so that's our sample. And the first statistic we want to calculate is the arithmetic mean. So to do this, we take the sum of the observations. We use the Greek capital S there, so we take the sum from I equals 1 to 10 of xi, and we divide that by the number of observations, which in this case is equal to 10. That defines for us the arithmetic mean. Next, we want to calculate the geometric mean. To do this, we're going to need to take the product of the observations. So we take x1, multiply that by x2, and continue multiplying by all the values of x up to x10, and then we take the 10th root of that, so we raise that to the power 1 over 10, and that will give us the geometric mean. Next, we want to calculate the sample standard deviation. Now to do this, we're going to have to first of all calculate the sum of the squared deviations of x from its sample mean. So let's define the sample mean as x bar. Now we take the sum of the squared deviations, so we take the sum of xi from I equals 1 to 10 minus x bar squared. And then we need to divide that by the number of observations minus 1. The reason why it's n minus 1 here is we lose a degree of freedom when we calculate the arithmetic mean. And then finally, we take the square root of this quantity, and that defines for us the sample standard deviation.
Now we're going to look at how to calculate the sample statistics using a spreadsheet. So we have our data here on this spreadsheet, and first of all I'm going to calculate the sample mean, or the arithmetic mean. That's easily done because it's one of the built-in functions in Excel. So in this cell here I'm going to type in the command average, highlight the relevant cells, hit return, and it will give me my average there. The geometric mean is going to take a little bit more work. First of all, I've got to calculate the product of the observations, so I'm going to use this column to do this. The first thing I'm going to do is take the first entry there for Norway. Now I'm going to multiply it by the succeeding entries, so I'm going to take the entry there and I'm going to multiply it by the next entry. And if I copy this column down, then what I've got in this last cell is the product of all 10 entries. Now I'm going to calculate the geometric mean by taking that element and raising that to the power 1 over 10. That will give me my geometric mean. And you can see that there's actually very little difference here between the arithmetic mean, which is 0.9143, and the geometric mean, which is 0.914155. Finally, next we're going to take a look at calculating the median for this series. Well, again, that's quite neat because that's a built-in function in Excel. So I can type in the command here, median, highlight the relevant cells, and we get the median value here of 0.916. Now we actually note here that the median and the arithmetic mean are very close to each other, and that's quite different from the result in the main text of the paper. The reason for that is because our sample consists of basically very similar countries, high income countries, whereas in the sample in the paper we had a wide variation in types of country. The final part of our exercise is to calculate the standard deviation. Now I'm going to use this column F to do this, and what I'm going to do first of all is take the deviation of the observation here, 0.944 for Norway, and subtract from that the sample mean. Well, the sample mean is 0.9143, and we're going to square that quantity, so raise that to the power 2. Then I'm going to copy that cell down, And now I'm going to use these calculations to calculate the sample standard deviation. First of all, I take the sum of these squared deviations from the mean, so I type in here sum and highlight this block of cells. Now I need to divide that by the number of observations minus 1, so I'm going to take that cell there and I'm going to divide that by 9, and then finally I need to calculate the square root of that quantity to get the sample standard deviation. So I'm going to take this cell and I'm going to raise that to the power 1/2 or 0.5, and that will give me my standard deviation, which in this case is 0.017186. So that's the mechanics of how to calculate these various sample statistics using a spreadsheet, in this case Excel, but the calculations will be very similar on whatever spreadsheet you use. Finally, if you wish to avoid the tedious calculations of these sample statistics using Excel, you can do them more quickly using a program which I've uploaded to my website and which you can download to your computer. You'll need a basic compiler to run it, but it should be able to run on most computers with a minimum of modification. First of all, I've copied my data to a text file here which I'm going to use as input to the program. The code for the program itself is given here, and I'm going to run this as follows. So I click on the run button here, and I need to input the name of the data file, which here is IED 2016 1.txt. And if I press return now, it should calculate the sample statistics for me. And if we look at these sample statistics, we find that they're identical to the calculations we did earlier using the Excel spreadsheet.